Hello, my name is Angelina Estrada, and I'm doing a cultural communication video assignment with Gayatri Ramkumar. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Gayatri Ramkumar. I'm doing this with Angelina Strata.
Okay, so let's start things off. Can you tell me a little bit about your cultural background and heritage?
Okay, I'm from India. I'm from India. That's the cultural heritage.
Okay, so then, what are some of your traditions or customs that are very important in your culture?
Um, so a lot of our customs are based on religious beliefs. It depends. So I guess it depends on what religion you prescribe to. I am a Hindu, and so a lot of the things, the customs, and the ceremonies and the rituals that I do is based on Hinduism. I'm not a very religious person, so I am not actually doing all the religious stuff that a typical Hindu Indian would do. Um, I guess, yeah.
What's one of your favorite traditions or customs?
Mm, I mean, most of the festivals, I guess, we celebrate, not to the point of how I would probably celebrate back in India because I don't have a lot of. It's not the same as celebrating back in India, but there's Diwali. That's a big thing that we usually celebrate, and there is another South Indian festival, like a harvest festival that we celebrate during the month of January. And we also follow a different calendar, so it doesn't always align with the calendar, the Roman calendar.
Mhm.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Or is that it?
Well, and there is more other customs like um, I don't know, like when you like your birthdays and stuff, there is like always two birthdays that I used to celebrate growing up is one based on the normal Roman calendar that the birthday that goes on your passport and stuff. And there's another birthday that matches with your star on that day that you were born. And so when that star like when the star happens every year, that's the actual birthday that my actually parents consider and celebrate.
Oh, that's cool. Okay then. How does your culture shape your identity and daily life?
Mm, I think I cannot define who I am without the culture.
So
If I
you'd say that,
remove, if you
mm,
remove, yes, if you remove my like Indian out of me, I don't know who I am without the culture. Like it is,
so
this
it's
is,
just
yeah,
it's just a big part of who you are.
yeah.
Okay then, let's move on to some of your family and social norms. What role does family play in your culture?
Families are a huge part. I actually grew up with my cousins and my extended family. So we were like one big family under the same roof. It's there was no concept. I mean, there was a concept of, we call it nuclear families, like two parents, children live in a home.
Hmm.
That was not the norm, at least when I was growing up. Now it is, it's that's the norm, but it is totally normal for people to live with their grandparents. So like if I probably was in India, then I would probably live with my husband's family. So it's just how it is.
Okay.
My brother still lives with my parents. It doesn't matter whether you're married or not, you still live with your parents.
Are there any specific customs around greetings and interactions in your culture? So like how would you greet other people or like how does that go typically?
So you're very respectful of people older than you. You do not call anybody by their first name at
Oh,
all. If they're older than you, especially like elderly people, you don't call them
uh-huh.
by their names. It's very disrespectful uh, to put a leg over the other when you're sitting in front of them.
In front of elders?
Yeah. Um, and you don't wear your shoes inside, obviously. You never wear your shoes inside. Definitely not in the kitchen.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess you respect your elders. You don't talk back to them, whether you know them or not, or it's just how it is. And you don't call anybody by their first names or even their last name. So everybody is either an uncle, aunt, grandma, or grandpa.
So if you're meeting somebody for the first time though, how would you like greet or like interact them?
So, well, in English, you don't have like a different like when you say you, there is like a different you. Like there are
Hmm.
two kinds of you when you're
Yeah.
addressing people, like so you when you meet the person for the first time, you don't usually use the you. Like when you address them, talk about them or address them, you don't usually use that you, the you that you would normally use with like friends and stuff. So you would use the respectful version of the you, like, when you're speaking to them.
Uh-huh.
And also people older than you. So like it depends on family to family. Some family actually feel it's disrespectful, even for their moms and dads, for their children to address them with the disrespectful version of the you.
Hmm.
Uh, but my families don't really care. But usually when you meet someone that are new, you don't use the disrespectful, or not, you use the respectful form of you. Let's say
Yeah.
it that way.
Okay. What are the most significant holidays or festivals in your culture?
I think I already said that. It is the two
Uh,
things. Yes, the Diwali is a big one. The entire
uh-huh.
India celebrates, but also India is, even though it's one country, there is so many festivals that every state has its own festival, kind of, that
Hmm.
is very special to them, because every state has its own language, has its own culture, has its own custom. The way people dress differs from state to state. The food that we eat changes from state to state. So from my state that I'm from the southern part of India. The harvest festival that I was talking about is very, very popular. That's a huge thing, which probably people from the northern part don't celebrate it, or they don't celebrate
Hmm.
it the same way that we celebrate it.
Yeah.
Um, and there is this New Year's. So there is like Tamil New Year's, not the normal New Year's, not the January 1st, but there is
Uh-huh.
another Tamil New Year's, which again, it is different for another state. Their calendar is different and our calendar is different. So we celebrate
Oh.
it when our New Year's fall.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I guess it's not just the language, but it is also culture
Hmm.
for that state.
Okay, so going into that too, like what would you say are like traditional foods or dishes that are commonly prepared? So like, or some of your favorites too.
Very different. It is very different. So for my state, it is all the food and dishes are heavily based on rice, because rice is something that is a staple food, because that's easily grown, and the climate and the weather conditions, actually we grow rice a lot.
Uh-huh.
And if you go towards the northern part where it gets colder, people tend to eat more wheat products than rice. So if you go to an Indian restaurant, the things that you see as Indian, typical Indian, is
Hmm.
actually from the northern part, and it's not actually from the southern
Oh,
part.
so it doesn't
It's
represent.
yeah, yeah. So I would say it's heavily based on rice and lentils, and at least when I was growing up, there's not a lot of people who would eat meat 3 times a day. Like people, even people who are not vegetarians. I mean, not everybody in India is a vegetarian. So there are people who are not vegetarians. They, even them, they don't eat a lot of meat as their primary source of protein every day.
Okay.
So it's meat were actually prepared on very special occasions.
Oh, okay. What's your favorite dish though?
Rasam, it's a very comfort food for me. It's
What
like a
is it
soup.
though?
It's like a very thin soup with tomatoes and lentils
Oh,
and tamarind.
well, flavor bomb. Um, what languages are spoken in your culture, and how does
Oh,
language
a
shape
lot.
communication?
A lot.
Talk
I
to us
can't
through
keep
some
track
of
of
them.
it. So on the Indian rupee, rupee is the the money, the
Uh huh.
currency.
Yeah.
So on the rupee, then it's like a paper. Um, I don't think they have coins anymore. They used to. Now it's all like a paper thing. So there are
Yeah.
like 14 official languages listed.
Uh huh.
Uh, and if you talk to another Indian person, they would say, "Oh, Hindi is the country." No, it's not. There are like many languages, and especially from people from Tamil Nadu, which I am from, which Tamil
Hmm.
is the major language. People are very proud of the language because Tamil has its own roots. It is not from any other language. Like how English
Oh,
is
so it's
from
original.
Greek and Latin. Yeah, Tamil is the OG. It is the
Oh.
original language because we have our own literature, we have our own poets and novelists and kings and queens and all the history and everything. So that's how, yeah, literally language shapes our culture. And so right now in India, like people are like forcing Tamil people to learn Hindi, which is
Oh.
a huge political thing that is happening. But Tamil people are very proud of their language. It's like, I don't want to learn Hindi. Like they are very proud of their language,
Uh huh.
basically. So yeah.
What are some phrases or expressions that you'd say like really stick to you and you just really like appreciate in your culture?
I would say the sound that is
Uh huh.
very unique to our language and culture. It's ra, which there is no letter in any language for that.
Uh huh.
Um, so the language, the word itself has that sound, so it's hard to write that
Yeah.
in a language that is not Tamil.
Uh huh.
So when you write it in English, it doesn't sound the way it is, and it's hard for other people who are not used to the language to say that word. Uh,
Uh.
I guess that's sound, I would say.
Uh huh.
So I guess that's what it is. That's if you think about culture, and so the culture is, I guess, is based on the language. Like instead of calling the state has this language, we call ourselves Tamil people.
Uh huh.
It is just the culture, and so the sound is very unique to that language. It's
Uh huh.
hard to actually reciprocate in any other language.
So it's just really unique and varied to you guys.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, do you guys have any like nonverbal communication forms? So like gestures, body language, like stuff like that?
I don't know that, but people say Indians always nod their heads the wrong way, so I do not know, but I guess it
Uh-huh.
is true, and I
Okay.
guess it's exaggerated in movies and other.
Oh, so it's like really enlightened and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
but I don't know if it's. I don't notice it.
You don't really use
Yeah,
any
I guess
just
other people notice it. Yeah.
okay. Um, what values are emphasized in your culture? So like respect. I know we touched base on like elders, but like
Mhm.
is there anything else like hospitality, independence,
Oh
like
yeah, hospitality is a huge thing. Like if you go, like all the doors for all the houses are always open. Like
oh
they're always open. I'm not
uh-huh,
like not figuratively speaking, like literally open, physically open. Um we don't, like, all the windows and everything will be open. The only time they would close the doors is at 6 p.m. in the evening, is when people close their doors. But even if you live in an apartment, you
uh-huh,
will see like a um like there's, like, I don't know what it's called, like the gate, they call it a grill gate, but that is there, and then there is a door, so the door is
mhm,
always open, so you can always see inside someone's home. But it's always open, and people are welcome anytime, and the first thing that they would offer is something to drink, right? that's
uh-huh.
that's what it is. And this coffee or tea, it's always It's always available no matter where.
So it doesn't matter who, when, where,
They
stuff like
just
it's
no, yeah.
just
I mean, if
always.
you have, if no one actually calls before they come, or at least not.
Oh, so it's just like showing up.
You just show up. You just show up.
Uh-huh.
You just come, and then you welcome them in and offer them coffee or tea.
All right. How does your culture approach religion or spirituality?
Um. So there are three big religions, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's Hinduism, that's a big one, and then there
Yeah.
is always Islam that was a part of the culture. So Hinduism and Islam were a big part of India
Uh-huh.
before Christianity came. So, and then there is like little sub categories from Hinduism that kind of like branched out. That was like Jainism, Sikhism, and Buddhism and other things that kind of spread
Uh-huh.
out. So there are like there are states that where there is like heavy population of Jains and Sikhs,
Uh-huh.
but from Tamil Nadu there is not a lot of people you will see as Jains or Sikhs.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there is mostly Hindu, there is Christianity, and there is Muslim. Um, yeah, I guess I can only speak for Hinduism. I don't know much about Muslim Indians or Christian Indians, but
Uh-huh.
for Hinduism, I guess it's a little different from how Christianity is or Christians are. Like you don't have to go to church every Sunday, so
Yeah.
it's temples, and temples were not just for religious worship. For a long time ago, they were also like a place where people go to socialize, and it was also a protection against outsiders because
Uh-huh.
it was also it's still all the temples that were built a long time ago still stands because of architecture and the way it was built. So it's like arts, architecture, family, social, all of those things is in temple. It's not just for a place where you go and worship.
What would you say are some misconceptions people have about your culture? So like things that typically would, I don't know, they just assume, but just is it?
Mm, I
If you could.
guess one thing that I've thought is like people in India are all vegetarians. Like I have heard that many times.
Uh-huh.
It's true.
Are you
There
a
are
vegetarian yourself?
I am a vegetarian. That's because there is like that there still is kind of, maybe not on paper, caste system.
Mhm.
Or it was like that is what made a lot of people vegetarians and some people not so vegetarians, and people from the priestly caste don't eat meat
Uh-huh.
because they are like a connector to God or something. That was a belief. So those people, because and they perform ceremonies and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
they they are not supposed to eat meat. And that's the you're born into the caste. So you can't switch caste. Like it doesn't work that way, or at least I don't even know if it's gonna change or not, but I don't know how
Uh-huh.
it would change. So yeah, that's why I've never eaten meat ever in my life. So
Hmm. You'd say
yeah.
that's the only probably misconception people that you've heard
Um,
about
that
culture?
and it's like there is not one thing about India that people think, oh yeah, from India you speak Hindi and you do this and that. No,
Uh,
there is very small, minor changes and differences between state to state that
mhm.
people put everything under one umbrella and think this is who an Indian person is who speaks
Yeah.
Hindi. And yeah, it's just, I guess, and also skin color is so different. There is like varieties of like
Uh,
people of like the skin color, and you can't s- I guess that's something that people don't really realize.
uh-huh. They just think they all come in one
Yeah,
shade, shape,
yeah, the
something like that.
hair texture, like everything, like I guess there is a variety of Indians in India.
What do you appreciate about being Indian?
Um, what do I appreciate? I guess it's the variety. It is so unique and diverse,
Hmm.
and it's just, and there are a lot of things about Indian cuisine, I would say, that I did not appreciate growing up. I actually now appreciate as an adult, because I think about, it's not, so when I say if I'm a vegetarian, it's not the same vegetarianism that I actually eat every day as a person who was eating meat but switched to
Hmm.
vegetarianism. Like it's so different. Like I can actually live without eating meat. Like I do not actually have to eat meat because I know how to prepare food without meat in it, but still get the same amount of micronutrients and the vitamins and all the things that my body needs. So I guess
Uh-huh.
that's something that I really appreciate about I don't know, my ancestors, I would say, because it's, everything was, whatever food that was being prepared in Indian cuisine was like thought, well
Uh-huh.
thought.
Yeah. Okay then. How does your culture approach education and learning? Because
Oh,
I know you're a teacher, so
it's
how
a
would you say it
serious.
impacts?
Have you ever met an Indian who is not an engineer or a doctor? Um. Anyway, no, education is big. It is big. Like it is. It is so huge, but it's so big that it's very stressful for young people in India right now,
Uh-huh.
because that's all you do. You go to school, you learn, and then you come home.
And it's just back to
That's
back.
what it is. It's
That's your
education is very, is highly valued. Like that's the first thing.
So you growing up, did you really like, even though if it was in, even though it was enforced onto you, like to go to school, get good grades and stuff, did you want to do that for yourself too?
Yeah.
Like, did you
I guess
value
my
that?
family is different, but if you talk to my husband or another person from India, yes, it, the good, getting good grades is a first thing. Like that is the most important thing that you would do, that your parents would want you to have when you're a
Uh-huh.
child. But my family did not do that. But it just I don't know. I guess it's, I self motivation to
Uh-huh.
do well in school.
What is the typical work culture like in your community?
Like for adult work.
Yeah.
Um. So when my in my parents' generation, it was, they wanted job stability. That was a big thing, like
Uh-huh.
to earn money and have a stable income. Um, so a lot of middle class families, when in my parents generation, would go for government jobs, because government jobs are very stable. It's a 9 to
Hmm.
5 job. You can come home, you have Saturdays and Sundays off, and then you have good benefits, like retirement benefits from it.
Hmm.
But I guess it has changed now, with, at least from my generation, when I was in college. That's when this global market opened up, and there was this high boom in IT and all these computer science jobs. And
Yeah.
and that gave more money and increased everybody's income level, and anybody could do that job. It's just, as long
Hmm.
as you have a degree, you get trained in computer science and you can do that job. So I guess that's changed everything about work culture. So people work like really late night.
Hmm.
Uh, they could like, and also it's because they are also working for companies that are based on US and UK. So they work really weird times. They wake up at 10 a.m. in the morning, and then they work until 10 p.m. or something, like, or even after that. So I guess there is not a lot of work life balance right now, I would say.
Oh, okay. So before there
You are,
was like stable 9 to 5 and it was just
yeah.
like your typical job stability, but now it's just changing with all the opportunities.
Hmm.
Um, are there specific expectations around leadership and teamwork in your culture? Like, are you
Um,
more independent? Like, is there more teamwork? Like what?
Teamwork, I guess. I mean, I don't think there is a, I would say, a problem with teamwork, because like I said, growing everybody in India grows up like you're all in like you're growing up with aunts and uncles and other relatives around, and there is no concept of privacy,
Uh-huh.
basically. You don't get your own room or anything, so you just have to end up sharing the room. And if a family is coming to visit you, you have to give up your room for the
Uh-huh.
relatives and stuff. So there is no concept of privacy or individuality there. I guess teamwork, I don't know actually. I've never worked in India, so I do not know exactly what teamwork looks like. But leadership, though, I could say that you are always respectful of your boss, and
Okay.
that boss could be a younger person, but you're still respectful of your boss. So there
Uh-huh.
is like, you always listen to authority kind of stuff.
So we still the higher ups no matter what.
Mhm. Yeah. So like even in schools, like you respect your teachers
Uh-huh.
and you listen to the teachers, and that's a given. That's, if you don't, then parents are coming after you.
Have you ever had to navigate cultural differences when traveling or living elsewhere?
Yeah, I am living elsewhere right now. Yes. I guess it was I mean, I've been in this country for, I don't know, 20 years now.
Uh-huh.
20, 20 years now. So it was not a big change overnight. It's like it kind of like grew on
Slow.
me slowly. Um, but I would say more than differences, when I look at other Asians, like, like I see a little bit of similarities between their, like, for example, like Vietnamese or like Chinese. Like I could see some similarities in the continent
Mhm.
more than differences. I don't know, maybe it's just the continent, how it works with, in terms of like culture, a little bit of it.
Uh-huh. Then that brings me to, what were your like culture shocks moving from India to the US? Like what are things that were like being acceptable over there and just like
So what I would say, I wouldn't say I was shocked, but I was like wondering why, because there
mhm,
was this, okay, so I went, and my husband's friends, so it's a husband and wife, and the wife was like giving me a tour of the house, and
uh-huh.
she mentioned, oh, this is his room and this is his laptop, and I was like, that's not the thing that happens in our culture. No one owns the,
Everything shared.
everything is shared. Like that's the that was a big huge difference that I noticed, is like, oh, what does that mean by his laptop? So when
Uh-huh.
we get a laptop, it's a laptop for the household. If we get a car, it's car for the household. No one goes,
Uh-huh.
it's my car, your car, that, I guess that's a big thing there. Like no one owns anything. If you're living in that family, if you're part of that
It's
family,
everybody's.
it's everybody's.
Anything else? Like any other that really like stood out to you, especially like you entering teaching and like how you were at when you were at school and like changing to how students are now?
I guess it's a huge difference in culture. I can't compare it. I cannot compare it. Like I never talked back to my teachers. I never said anything out like to my teachers. I think that's different. Um, I guess even with the social events, there's a lot of differences.
Uh-huh.
With how there are like social events where children are not invited, and children, so everything is kind of like orchestrated, like here, like weddings and birthdays and any kind of things. In India, it's not orchestrated, like nothing is planned, like it just, if it's a wedding, it goes, it just, you live with the flow, you go with the flow, like
Uh-huh.
you don't say anybody where to sit or who to invite and who not to invite. In weddings are a huge thing, like everybody comes. If you know a person and that person knows someone else, everybody comes. So there is no like, and
Like
weddings are
guest
like
list
fun.
or stuff
Yeah,
like that
there's no guest list, and the weddings are like fun, enjoyable events. So you
for
and
community.
children, are encouraged to come. Like the children are the big part of the weddings and stuff. But it's like different when someone tells me here. I've heard, at least personally, I don't know, but I've heard, like, children are not invited to this wedding, and that's kind of weird for me
Oh,
to
because you're
hear.
so used
Like,
to
why? Yeah,
everybody being there.
yeah, and also not everybody is invited to the wedding. Like, you only have a certain number of people you invite, and
Uh-huh.
because people are concerned about. But for Indian weddings, it happens like for 3 or 4 days, and the people who are getting married are expected to feed the guests, no matter how many
Mm.
show up, for all 4 days, 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I guess
How do you
that's different. Yeah.
uh-huh. How do you think intercultural understanding can improve relationships and collaboration?
I guess you're putting yourself in someone else's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that also like takes away some of the biases that you have inside, right? When you look at someone else's culture, you already have some preconceived notions about someone
Uh-huh.
else's culture because you heard from someone, or you saw someone in a movie or a TV and they were portrayed as that person. So I guess spending time with people from other cultures or talking to people from other cultures is taking away some of the misconceptions you have about that culture, and maybe removing some of the stereotypical things that you would probably think about someone who are different from you.
Uh-huh. So just like eliminating that, like the biases and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, then that brings me to what was I gonna say? Now that you have your own kids and you're in your own family, do you like push those ideas or not like push them, or like do you see yourself like your parents were with you, or like I don't know, like
I
if
yeah, so living in a different country has
yeah,
actually made me, I think, outside of the box. When I say outside of the box, like literally standing outside of your space that you're familiar with and thinking,
comfort zone, yeah.
reflecting on, yeah. And so there are some good things and there are some bad things. And I have this opportunity to do that. Now, not many people are able to do that because when you're in that space, you don't know what's happening outside of your space, and you think
Uh-huh.
your space is whether it's good or bad, that's what you have. But having I have the opportunity to come out of that space and reflect on that and looking at a different culture or
Uh-huh.
living in a different culture. I guess no, I am not the parent. I don't know what my kids would say, but I am not the parent that my mom is or was, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, again, things change. You learn things differently, and your perception and your viewpoints change depending on the experiences. That could be why.
Now that we're coming to an end, is there anything that I didn't touch bases on or that you wanted to like include or just like mention something?
mm, I don't
You
think
don't
so.
have to, but just
I don't think so. But I did see one question that said something about space in the social category.
how does your culture view personal space and social etiquette?
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting.
Do you want to talk
Because
about that?
this is where I said, I guess a lot of other Asian countries also view the same thing, I guess, as the same thing. We have no concept of personal space,
Uh-huh.
uh, which is also different from at least in the US, is like, people value their personal space. There is always like, when you're walking or when you're hiking, people go to the side to give other people room to go
Uh,
by. There is no concept of personal space in India. Like, there
just
is
everything's just bun.
it's no one cares about personal space. I guess I was very surprised to see another like an Asian woman from a different country, and I was like looking at them and then said, oh yeah, I guess It's an Asian thing that we don't have
Mhm.
personal space.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Stop recording.